Will Nathaniel Hackett get fired today? Bloom, if you're watching this little preview and you don't know what day it is, it could be October.
Right.
It could be January, whatever.
Right.
Or it could be today. That's right. Okay, let's do this thing.
You got a team, here's a word to the wise. You want to dominate your league? Go to Footballguys.
Football, I'm living in a fantasy. Football, got everybody mad at me. Football, cause every game I had to win. Football, I gotta be a champion. Football, I'm living in a fantasy.
We will get to Nathaniel Hackett and my potentially busy night a little bit later, but Bloom, I'm relaxed. I'm sitting back in my gamer chair because I'm like, I can't get stressed out about this stupid team anymore. So how about we get stressed out about the Steelers, except they win? I think Arthur Smith's probably stressed out, right? 1916, the final score, Steelers over the Falcons. Kenny Pickett, 16 to 28, 197 yards, 1 touchdown, no INTs. Pat Fryermuth, 3 for 76. Deontay Johnson, 5 for 60. Connor Hayward, there's the receiving touchdown. Nobody started him. You may have started Jalen Warren. He had 2 catches for 14 yards and a carry for 5 because Najee Harris did play 17 for 86. I feel like we're playing musical chairs with the Steelers backfield. So they win. It's ugly. It's not great for fantasy, but we're here.
Yeah, we're here, and the Steelers are going to get enough wins to take them out of contention to at least have a quarterback come to them without trading up. But maybe Kenny Pickett and his mistake-free football, not great for fantasy, but good for the wins and losses when you're playing teams like Atlanta. Cecil, there was a 16-play, 47-yard drive for the Steelers in this one. 16 plays, 47 yards. Do the math. That's the kind of offense you get with Kenny Pickett. So, George Pickens was shut down by A.J. Terrell. Connor Hayward, that touchdown with Big Brother playing the team that their dad, Ironhead Hayward, used to play for. This is going to be a low ceiling offense. Najee Harris at least is okay. No practice, limited practice, not on the injury report, and looked like he shouldn't have been on the injury report. So you have that at least as some predictability. Baltimore is coming next week, so Steelers have a chance to win another ugly game.
Yeah, another ugly game. Atlanta side, Marcus Mariota, 167, 13 or 24 of 167, 1 touchdown, 1 INT. I saw that Ritter was trending, but Bloom, I also have read some reports like what's trending isn't actually what people are talking about. And Twitter's such a minute part of our society and our listenership. From a radio standpoint, it's like 3% of your audience. So it's a very small. So it's like, what's trending with 3% of people that actually people aren't talking about. But Ritter was trending because, well, I guess we've seen enough from Marcus Mariota, haven't we? Drake London, 6 for 95. That was good. Cordell Patterson, 11 for 60. That's enough, I guess, but really not much here with a Mariota-led team.
No, fantasy-wise, you did have another Cordell Patterson touchdown overturned. Drake London resurfaced. Good luck guessing when that's going to happen again. Atlanta was going into this game a half game out of first. So Tampa Bay exhales here as this was a close game, a back and forth game. A lot of close games the Falcons have lost. I don't necessarily think that's a good thing. That shows that they're a good team. I just think shows a lot of mediocre football. This one was one of them. Atlanta can ponder this, like you said, see Desmond Ritter. They do have a bye, so they have a chance to step back and look at where they're at and where they're going. And much like the Steelers, they have a lot of needs, but they're not going to be picking early enough, at least to get one of the marquee players in the draft.
You are correct, sir. And let's just get this thing out of the way because it's Denver, Baltimore. It doesn't even matter. The Lamar Jackson thing is what matters most. Bloom, I want you to do both teams.
Sure.
Actually, I can't rant. I can't.
Right.
Literally, people, I cannot rant. I know you love it. It'll get there. I'll talk myself into it. Trust me, because I got a lot to say. But I think I'm going to be fairly busy tonight, Bloom. I've told you off air some things. So like, I'm done with Nathaniel Hackett. He sucks. He doesn't fit with Russell Wilson. They can't do anything right. Cortland Sutton gets banged up. But the Lamar Jackson injury is what's important to note. And then with Tyler Huntley out there, it's like, it's not really good for Lamar because Huntley kind of does what Lamar does. And of course, he's much, much cheaper than Lamar could be. So please talk about both teams so we could please move on from these stupid Broncos.
Every Broncos game has been basically the same game, and they almost win, and sometimes they do win. Greg Dulcich, Latavius Murray, these are adequate desperation options. Dulcich actually was pretty good. Sutton goes out with a hamstring, so we'll talk about Jerry Jeudy. There are no moral victories for this team. They're playing Kansas City next week. Good luck. Greg Roman in the talk for the San Stanford head coach job, I know a lot of Ravens fans were hoping they were going to lose when this game unfolded the way it did, because maybe that would have been the nail in the coffin for Roman, although still he may decide he likes that gig better. What's the Ravens offense without Lamar Jackson? Well, James Prochet threw a pass and it was intercepted.
Yes.
And still not enough for the Broncos to win. Tyler Huntley for a long time was scuffling in this game, just a lot of short passing, did get the rushing touchdown to win at the end. So we saw him as a viable fantasy quarterback, and that was with a higher bar for fantasy relevance of quarterback last year than we have this year. Now it is the Steelers next week, so Huntley's going to be a true boom bust play. I don't think we're going to see Lamar Jackson this week. I'm not sure when we're going to see him again. It might be one of those things where maybe he comes back for the playoffs. At least Huntley's throwing a lot of short passes, so there's some floor of PPR points, but the ceiling of this offense, which hasn't been visible anyway, theoretically gets lower. And I think you just look at Baltimore, we were already wondering about this team, and can it get worse? Yeah, you take away Lamar Jackson, it gets worse. And didn't we know this was going to happen? You put this much on Jackson, and eventually something's going to give, and it was his knee.
And didn't we know this was going to happen? Baltimore had their first lead of the game with 25 seconds left in the fourth quarter. And I don't want to let Troy down. He's tuning in from Australia. Yeah. I don't want to let him down. So I will say this. I want to be nice, because some people that say this are my friends. And I want to keep them my friends because they're good people. For the notion that the Broncos won't fire Nathaniel Hackett after 12 games because it looks bad to potential head coaches, that's bull. Shut your mouth. Because YouTube just pinged us. Because you know what a potential coach will say? Thank you. When they take the flipping job, instead of like, well, they fired Hackett so early, I'll be walking on eggshells. No, you won't. Dealing with Russell Wilson and knowing that you're going to have to fix Russell Wilson is more of a hindrance than firing Nathaniel Hackett after 12 games. That message, that pause that a potential head coach may have comes from having to deal with Russell Wilson and having to kind of strip him of his power. I know it doesn't seem like power because they score 9 points a game, Bloom, but like the 6 parking spaces, the own office in the building, the staff, his personal staff has full access to the Broncos facility. You know, the 2 chefs things, like these sorts of things, like it's going to take a strong-willed personality, not happy, fun baby star. So don't worry about firing him and what message it sends. They're flipping Walmart. Yeah. Flipping Walmart, who ravaged every town and every mom and pop shop. You think they're concerned with what's happening? Oh, what about our reputation? Walmart. They're like barbarians, okay? Like, come on. Anyway, I need to move on, Bloom. We need to.
Look, the thing about the Broncos this year is, I think you put it best, Cecil, when you said whatever it was that was going to make this team a success, they didn't have it. And we can pinpoint, well, we don't pinpoint anything. It's everything. It didn't work. Time to start over.
Time to move on. Green Bay and Chicago, I own you. Well, still kind of, I guess, with Aaron Rodgers, who was the Broncos' plan, and they didn't get him, and that's what you get. 28-19, the final score. Bears at 3-10. Pack is 5-8. Aaron Rodgers, 18-31, 182 yards, isn't owning. No. 1 touchdown isn't owning, but that was to Christian Watson, who's really coming on. 3 for 48 and a touch as a receiver, and then 1 for 46 and a touch as a runner. A.J. Dillon, 18 for 93 and a touchdown there. Aaron Jones, 9 for 26. Alan Lazard, 5 for 67. Dillon also had 3 for 26 as a receiver. Jones had 5 for 24 as a receiver, and that's it. So they get the win, Sigmund, but it comes on the back of some Bears mistakes, which we'll get to in just a little bit.
Yeah, property of Christian Watson, A.J. Dillon. I don't see Aaron Rodgers' name, but you do see that, the Packers still have the Bears number here. Rodgers, the Packers are officially out of the NFC North hunt as they go into bye, not officially out of the playoffs. So we'll see. I guess we're probably going to see Rodgers on the other side of the bye. A.J. Dillon, if you survived and somehow put him in this week, and we're going to talk about a few players that may be finally coming around. A.J. Dillon could be one of them. You see the power and also not much usage so far, so fresh legs. Christian Watson, how fast is Christian Watson? When he got that end around, he was already coasting. He was about the 30-yard line looking back at the competition like, you aren't going to catch me. So they've got a guy. And we'll see. It's not going to happen this year, and maybe it's not going to happen in Aaron Rodgers' tenure, but they got this pick right. Alan Lazard showed he can even be okay with Watson going off. Aaron Jones got a little banged up, but it's going to be the bye. But I think we could see more of that split we saw in week 1 when we thought A.J. Dillon was going to have some value. And Green Bay, not as bad off as Denver. I guess that's how we can end it.
Yeah, that's how we can end it. We can talk about, well, Justin Fields, who rips off long runs like that
Yeah.
55-yarder, 6 for 71 and a touchdown there. But 20 of 25, 254. That sounds good. 2 picks. That's not good. David Montgomery, 14 for 61 and a rushing touchdown there. Equanimous St. Brown, 3 for 85. Cole Kmet, 6 for 72 in this one. And nobody has N'Keal Harry. And maybe a few of you have Chase Claypool, but I hope you didn't start him.
Right.
But the Bears, another week of rest wouldn't have done Fields some good. Not that it was, his injury that was bothering him as a passer necessarily, but like, you got to bye next week. So whatever. Fields was out there, and maybe you don't get dinged for the picks, and that means he scored some points for you.
Yeah, he was fine. At quarterback, you got 20 to 25 points, 24 points. Depends on how many negative points you get for interceptions. But he's a more efficient passer, and that's without Darnell Mooney. And then Chase Claypool goes out with a pretty gnarly knee injury, fumbled on the play. Equanimous St. Brown, wide receiver 1. Not that we're going to really look at him for fantasy going into a bye, someone to pick up on the waiver wire, but something to watch here. Cole Kmet, now that's someone we're going to pick up off of the waiver wire as he's getting those targets, that chemistry with Fields. And like you said, there was that one run, he had one move in the backfield, and then you see the speed and just how tentative. What you're seeing is when Justin Fields breaks the pocket, the defense is very tentative, and he knows how to take advantage of that. And again, improving as a passer. So for the Bears, they're headed towards a top 5 pick. This is a lost season in terms of wins and losses or the standings, but there's a sense of excitement. Maybe you put Justin Fields out there, Cecil, just because it is Aaron Rodgers, it is Green Bay. By the way, with this win, Green Bay becomes the all-time winningest team in NFL history, whatever that's worth. Okay. But the point is, maybe it's something to build on. But I think the Bears, even though you don't necessarily call this season a success in terms of results, I think you call the season a success in terms of giving the fans something to look forward to and giving Justin Fields the confidence that you're the franchise now. And he went out there and he kept them in this game, even though he wasn't 100%.
Yeah, even though he was not quite himself. Oh, this next game is going to really depress me because it's Trevor Lawrence. It's Trevor Lawrence going down, and they keep replaying the damn thing. Didn't we learn from Alex Smith? Right? I wanted to be old and say Joe Theismann, but like, didn't we learn, Bloom? Like, I don't need to see that. I don't need to see Trevor Lawrence's leg like twist around and get stuck in the turf. And like, I don't want to see that. I get squeamish around that, which is funny because I'm, grew up on a ranch, so I've seen a lot, but I don't like seeing that. 40-14, the Lions get the win. They're 5-7. Jaguars 4-8. Trevor Lawrence 17-31, 179 yards, 1 touchdown, no INTs. Give me an update on that injury. It's gruesome. Christian Kirk 6 for 104. Evan Ingram 5 for 30 and a touch. Marvin's Jones Jr. I just like saying it, Bloom, because you smile. 1 for 17. Nobody starts him. Started Travis Etienne 13 of 54 in this one, 3 for 12 as a receiver. But it's that damn Trevor. The kid's just coming on, man. Don't rob us. We've already been robbed of Andrew Luck. I don't want to be robbed of any potential Trevor Lawrence may have.
Yeah. Maybe beating Baltimore wasn't that big of a deal. Wasn't that exciting? I mean, maybe you're really so proud of that because, or maybe this is just where Detroit is in their arc right now. Travis Etienne, okay, his foot's okay. He emerges okay from this game. Had a fumble. Game script wasn't good to him. Christian Kirk does bounce back here in a game you expected that, but not Zay Jones, who had a couple of drops in this one. Ingram did get a touchdown. It is the Lions, so you want to play your tight ends against the Lions. So you did have that come through for you. CJ Hawkinson next week, former Lion as recently as this season. And that's it. So Jacksonville had a game. Trevor Lawrence pulled the sword from the stone. They had the big comeback, the big 2-win conversion. They come back down to earth. It is a long-term process. Dan Campbell can tell you that, but the long-term process in the Lions arc now sees, dare I say, second half of the season, the Lions, if the playoffs were just based on the second half of the season, this is a playoff team.
Right. Exactly. Lions side of things, Jared Goff, 340, 2 touchdowns, no INTs. Guys on the power grid were debating him. Which was interesting. So Amon-Ra St. Brown, 11 for 114 and 2 touchdowns. That's awesome. DeAndre Swift, 14 to 62 and a touch. Jamal Williams, 11 for 35 and a touchdown. Swift also had 4 for 49 as a receiver. And Jameson got a target. No catches yet, Bloom. Right. Sad banana, but it's there. It's there in the future for the kid.
It is. It is the future looking brighter and brighter. DeAndre Swift. So again, the cost was even more than A.J. Dillon. If you survived spending a second or third round pick on DeAndre Swift, second round pick, I think he was pretty much a second round pick across the board. If you survive that with the quality of other picks and moves you made, you're feeling good now because we speculated about this. Thanksgiving, only 3 days of rest between games, even though he was a good month clear from his time off. Now, this week, he's not on the injury report. And yes, the injury report can have significance. Not being on the injury report, you wondered, is this the week we go back to that week one workload when he looked like he was going to be a week winner and a league winner? The answer is yes. And you saw him have more value than Jamal Williams, even around the goal line. So Jamal Williams, if anything, you come out of this wondering what you have in Jamal Williams. Now, as long as this offense is putting up 40 points, you're not as worried about Jamal Williams, but you know that floor is lower, ceiling not quite as high with DeAndre Swift figuring in there. Oh, Amon-Ra St. Brown got a little banged up in this one, but we're right back to him being a league winner. We're right back to this offense. Doesn't it just all add up perfectly, Cease? A healthy Swift. Now this offense is back to looking like one of the NFL's best offenses. They had Jameson Williams. Actually, G.J. Chark had a good game here. And if you're going to play somebody in the deep passing game against Minnesota, it's Chark, not Jameson Williams. Jay Glazer reporting before the game. And it's Dan Campbell, Cease. So we're always going to have biting the knees and all that good stuff.
Right.
Jay Glazer reported before the game, Jameson Williams was going to be a punt gunner. Now, the Lions didn't punt. Maybe that was the ha. That's the joke, right? I'm going to make him a punt gunner, and we're not going to punt. I get it. Again, this might be one of those things where to Dan Campbell, you have to earn some sort of Purple Heart or something to really endear yourself to the team. I don't quite understand that. So not much of a fantasy impact. Dan Campbell giving us another thing to add to the file. But most importantly, Dan Campbell showing us that the plan is working. Everything's heading in the right direction. Remember, they get the Rams first round pick also. So that's another good thing about the Lions right now. They can keep winning, and it's really not hurting their draft status because they have a first round pick that's going to be very high.
A very high pick. Bloom, I feel like we're both in the chat room under Footballguys, so you have to decode who's answering you. What the hell is a Socceroos?
That's the nickname of the Australian soccer team. They just lost to Argentina yesterday to Lionel Messi. But that's okay. Hopefully the orange from the Netherlands, the nether regions, will take down Argentina next. That's my personal rooting interest in the World Cup.
Okay. Is that good?
Football.
Is that bad?
Football, not
football.
Football,
not football.
Guys.
Mm-hmm. Right. Footballguys. That's right. And I would rather talk about soccer, which I personally can't stand, more so than Deshaun Watson. Like, I don't even like talking about him, dude. I said it on the pregame show. Somebody asked me, like, what do you think of Deshaun Watson? I'm like, he's a monster. I mean, do you really want to know what I think? Yeah, okay. Deshaun Watson was out there. Woo! 27-14. Browns get the win. Okay. There you go. Deshaun Watson was rough. And it was 12 of 22, 131 yards, no touchdowns, 1 INT. Nick Chubb, 17 for 80. Kareem Hunt, 9 for 56. Watson was 7 for 21 as a runner. Donovan Peoples-Jones, 3 for 44. Amari Cooper, 4 for 40. Kareem Hunt had a couple of catches for 18 yards. So I guess we're just basically trying to pick up data points and target preferences and these sorts of things. It's against the Texans. They had no shot. So Watson's out there, and shockingly, after not playing in God knows how long, he was pretty rough around the edges.
Yeah, he was rough. So if that was what you had projected in this game, that is what you got. And man, nobody was a good play, not even Nick Chubb, because the defense and special teams. Donovan Peoples-Jones, did you get credit for the punt return touchdown? We're having these instances lately, sees where you're going and looking up your league settings and your league scoring. Did I get that touchdown? Well, save it for the offseason rules discussion. So Deshaun Watson, I think, is on fantasy probation. I don't know if that's a bad choice of words, but I've said that before, not having to do with players like Deshaun Watson, where we want to see him do something next week in Cincinnati. Do we want to see him do something before we trust him? Maybe it depends on the other quarterback you have. But for instance, I would probably play Tyler Huntley over Deshaun Watson until we see him somewhat return to form. And it was a game. See, this is about the only way this game could have went, where the headline would not have been how bad Deshaun Watson was. And Kyle Allen was even worse.
Yeah, Kyle Allen was worse on the other side because it's the Texans and it's Damian Pierce and a bunch of nothing.
Right.
So Allen went 20-39, 201 yards, 1 TD, 2 INTs. The TD to Nico Collins, maybe Adam deep flex, maybe what the heck flex, but 3 for 35 touch. Brevin Jordan, who I really like dynasty-wise, 4 for 46. Yeah. Keep watching that. Chris Moore, 3 for 46. There you go. What? Damian Pierce, I didn't mention him yet, 18 for 73. So there's really not much you would have been choosing from, but this is what they did.
Yeah, got a lot of Dameon Pierce questions this morning, and he wasn't a liability for your lineup like he has been the last few weeks, but he wasn't necessarily a positive. Houston's going to go to Dallas next week, so we're not really looking forward to playing Dameon Pierce. Kyle Allen's so bad. Just play the defense against Kyle Allen. We're going to see Davis Mills maybe as soon as next week. Yes, that's how bad it is. You're going to unbench your benched quarterback. Nico Collins did get a garbage time touchdown. Only offensive touchdown of the day was a garbage time touchdown. Basically describes this game to a T. Brevin Jordan, you mentioned, he's a good dynasty stash, especially in tight end premium leagues. He's only 22 years old, so there's a lot of upside there for whatever is coming next for the Texans. A team can look forward to. Pretty sure going to have the number one pick.
Number one pick in my heart is Robert Saleh. Oh my God, I love the guy. I absolutely love him. And I know you got the soft spot for Dan Campbell.
Yeah,
I got the soft spot for Robert Saleh. And man alive. And I know they lost. Okay. The Jets lost. Spoiler alert. 27-22 to the Minnesota Vikings. And they're 10-2. The Jets are 7-5. But damn it, they put up a fight. And even at the end, and White's throwing, Berrios is not catching in the end zone. Like, you saw a couple of different times where they're driving, they're fighting, they get there and they can't punch it in. It's on a night short or whatever. Like Berrios, I said, dropping the pass, it's right in his breadbasket, baby. But Mike White slinging it 31-57, 369 yards, no touchdowns, 2 INTs. Sounds about right. Garrett Wilson, what a revelation. Look at what he did with Zach Wilson. Now look at what he does with Mike White or even Joe Flacco, like 8 for 162.
Yeah.
Corey Davis was one of the prettiest catches at the end of that game, 5 for 85. The Broncos game was over. Well, it was over when it started, but it was officially over, so I was able to tune into that. Ty Johnson, 6 for 38 as a receiver. Tyler Conklin, 2 for 9 if you had him in. And Zonovan Knight, 15 for 90 on the ground. Mike White with rushing touchdown, by the way. And then that's it. James Robinson did play. We have James Robinson citing everybody. And Elijah Moore, what the heck flex, 2 for 7. So it's more like what the what?
Yeah. Yeah, what the what? Oh, man. This was a heartbreaker for the Jets, but at the same time, it's so hard, Cecil, because Minnesota's 10-2. Now, is Minnesota a true playoff quality team? Minnesota just keeps finding ways to win, or they back into wins, as they really wanted to give this game away to the Jets. Jets had 5 field goals there. There were so many different things you could change. Cecil, there's so many things you could just flip one play in this game. So many different ways, and the Jets could have come out on top. They had a lot of fight in their offense and their defense. Mike White did work out as a fantasy play, but there was a lot more there. But at least we're not seeing him regress so badly that you wonder if Joe Flacco is going to start next week against Buffalo. It is Zonovan Knight's backfield, and the way he played, it should be his backfield if Michael Carter can't play next week. Barely heard from James Robinson, barely heard from Ty Johnson outside of the passing game. So in a PPR league, Johnson remains a desperation play. Like you said, Garrett Wilson, even Corey Davis on a big 4th and 10. So at the same time, the Jets were pushed to the brink in this game a few times by the Vikings. But with the Jets, I think what we can see from this team, Cecil, if they can get into the playoffs, they believe they're going to win. And no matter what the scoreboard says, no matter how the game is going, they're going to keep plugging away. That's definitely a credit to Robert Saleh. And hey, they have a realistic chance to sweep Buffalo and really throw that division into chaos next week.
How many times have you seen a team that stops short on a 4th down near the goal line, and then like their defense goes, and then the other team picks up a first and runs out the clock? You saw Robert Saleh like fire up his defense, like, no, get out there.
Yeah,
they stopped Minnesota.
Yeah.
They had it again. They drove it down. Berrios drops it.
Yeah.
Dude, he's got his team, man.
Yeah, he does.
Oh, I love it, man. And I love Kevin O'Connell too, doing some good things. Although it wasn't a robust day for your Vikings. Don't get greedy. Kirk Cousins, 21-35, 173 yards, 1 touchdown, no INTs. Touchdown, of course, Justin Jefferson, 7-45 and a touch. Again, don't get greedy. TJ Hawkinson, 4 for 33. Adam Thielen, 2 for 27. Sorry. Gave him 10 extra yards. Dalvin Cook, 20 for 86 and a rushing touchdown. Alexander Madison, 3 for 14 and a rushing touchdown. Looking very inspired as well. A couple catches, 4 yards, whatever. Cook had 2 for -3, so you're getting negative points there. But either way, the Vikings do enough, and they hold on at the end. Man, Jets were fighting them.
Really, hold on. Kirk Cousins got off to an 0 for 5 start in this game. This was... They somehow, I don't know if there's a statistic for turning total yards into points, but But this was not a good day for this offense. Everything Justin Jefferson got. How many times Justin Jefferson's going to average 6.5 yards a catch? Not very often. Sauce Gardner, everybody. Again, another first-round pick working out for them. Dalvin Cook had to earn everything that he got. He did at least get a touchdown. And that was basically it as far as good fantasy plays here. So the Vikings get a win against a team that is certainly not a bad team. It might be a good team. But they keep winning games, one-score games. They keep winning games where it's not necessarily the plays they make, it's the plays the other team doesn't make. So they're still trying to figure out who they are, but who they are going to be is the NFC South champion, hosting a playoff game. Heck, maybe if the Eagles stumble, they still have a chance to be the number one, but at the same time, waiting around the corner next week, rubbing their hands together, sees Detroit. So we're going to kneecap you. We're going to bite your knees. We're going to hit you over the head. We're going to do everything we can. So that's going to be a really interesting game for Minnesota to measure themselves, because we saw the Giants in a similar situation a few weeks ago play the Lions, and the Lions spanked them. So who's a playoff team? Not the Lions, but they're better than some of these teams that are going to go to the playoffs, at least right now.
Dan Campbell, professional spanker.
Yeah.
More details on Sorry Joe Plus. Wouldn't you know Commanders and Giants would be a tie? Isn't that just so fitting? Like Commanders and Giants, what's going to happen? It's going to be a tie.
Something unsatisfying. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. That's what it is. 20-20. 2020. Final in overtime. Commanders 7-5-1. Giants 7-4-1. Taylor Heineke, YOLO, 27-41, 275, 2 touchdowns, no INTs. Terry McLaurin, 8 for 105 and a touch. Curtis Samuel, 6 for 63. Jahan Dotson, 5 for 54 and a touchdown. He's got such a nose for the end zone. What's he had? In every game he's played, there's only been, like 2 games he hasn't scored? So,
right.
he's always scoring touchdowns. He's not that deep threat, right? The long was 28, which was the longest catch of the day. But still, Jahan Dotson is sold as a, stretch the field, Tyreek Hill type of guy. He's still getting touchdowns, though. Brian Robinson, 21-96. There you go. Antonio Gibson, 9 for 39 on the ground, 2 for 20 as a receiver. So it's a tie, Bloom, but I guess some fantasy situations here.
And one of these teams is going to make the playoffs, almost certainly. We'll see how the math works out. They're going to play again in 2 weeks. Heineke to McLaurin, that's working as long as McLaurin's not on a really good corner, another really good corner on him. And you see Heineke, usually we have a couple of throws a game that are either terrible interceptions or should have been terrible interceptions. Not as much. Heineke's settling down. It's his team, and he may take this team to the playoffs. Dotson on the play to tie had a tremendous play in the open field as a runner. He's winning contested catch touchdowns earlier this year. Like you said, Cecil, not what he was sold as, which would make you pretty excited. You're excited even with Curtis Samuel making some plays in this one. So we're seeing Taylor Heineke in a game where he had to throw more, revive some of these values, but you still saw Brian Robinson get a lot of carries, looking good. It's got that strength and stamina that this offense needs. It's his backfield, especially going into a bye. He is going to be rested up for that stretch run. And this team, it feels like they're growing up. They remember Chase Young hasn't returned yet. Maybe they could have used him in this game. And another team, you see it in Ron Rivera, you see it in Taylor Heineke. We talk about the personality, and it's belief in self. And Taylor Heineke certainly has always had that, if he's even still playing professional football. So it was a dissatisfying result, and for Washington to go into the bye and play this team again. But this is a Washington team that has very real playoff considerations, and things are turning around. I think that Washington fans are admitting in public again that they're Washington fans. They're actually kind of proud, should be, with this team.
Okay. As Gina says, is Odell going to the Giants? I'm a romantic, Bloom. It's the Latin in me. So I have it, hey, wouldn't that be cool? Go back to where it all started. Yeah, wouldn't it be cool to go to the Cowboys instead? But the Giants could use him because everybody's hurt. When Isaiah Hodgins is out there, all the respect due. But 544 and a touch for Isaiah Hodgins because everyone's hurt. Darius Slayton's not hurt. He had 6 for 90 in this one. And then Saquon Barkley's kind of hurt, I guess. I don't know, a little banged up. 18 for 63 and a touchdown. They broke him. 5 for 18 as a receiver. Daniel Bellinger back out there from the eye injury. 5 for 24. Daniel Jones, the leading rusher, 12 for 71 on the ground, then 25 for 31, 200 yards and 1 touchdown. The aforementioned one to Hodgins in the no INT. So it's a tie. It's boring, but they might get Odell Beckham Jr., and that's not boring.
Yeah, and they're still around. They have a game next week against Philly. So who's going to feel better going into the next match with these teams? Daniel Jones is a fighter, though. Just whether running, passing, trying to make something happen, you really see him playing exactly the way that a quarterback should whenever you're outgunned by your opponent. And he did everything he could to give this team a chance to win. Saquon Barkley at least got a touchdown, at least had a lot of short receptions. So from a fantasy standpoint, you're feeling better. But no, you're not going to see early season Saquon Barkley going forward. It's just he's a little bit used up, and this offense doesn't really threaten defenses enough to give him some lanes. Daniel Bellinger, Isaiah Hodgins, these are desperation plays against Philadelphia next week. Darius Slayton almost caught a desperation pass, which would have really made him a terrific play in this one, but still pretty solid. So they're making do the best they can. That this is a winning team with the personnel they've had on offense is a testament to Brian Dable, to Daniel Jones, another team that does have a lot of question marks, but has to feel good about the way things are going, even though they don't feel good about the outcome here.
That'll do, Pig. One game left, and it's Titans and it's Eagles here on the Week 13 recap. It's the Audible. It's Cecil, Lammey, it's Sigmund Bloom. And, well, I feel bad for Traylon Burks.
Oh,
This kid's just snake bit, man. Like, he'll flash, and they'll get hurt. And then he'll drop passes, and he'll get hurt. And then he'll flash, and he'll get hurt. That seems to be the story with Traylon Burks. But it's 35-10. Eagles get the win. 11-1, baby. Titans 7-5. You know our man Jason Wood was at the stadium getting all fired up. Don't get thrown in jail, Jay. 14 of 22, 141, one touchdown, no INTs for Ryan Tannehill. Malik Willis came into this game. Chiggy Okonkwo, I love him, Bloom. Love him, 4 for 68. He's becoming more relevant. Traylon Burks, 1 for 25 and a touchdown before he goes out with injury. Give us the latest there. Nick Westbrook at Kinney. Remember when that was a thing? Or was that just against the Broncos?
yeah, 1 week.
1 for 4. Yeah, 1 week. And then Derrick Henry, speaking of broken, 11 for 30.
Yeah.
All right, 2 for 8. You might have run him out of gas, Tennessee. So this is what you get with the Titans.
Yeah, well, Philly will do that to you. It looked like Tennessee wanted to go toe-to-toe with Philly in this one, and you did see that touchdown. And Traylon Burks, well, maybe he did take one on the chin. Was unconscious, held onto the ball. So at least you got that before he went out. And we'll see about whether he's ready for the Jacksonville game next week. In his stead, like you said, Okonkwo getting onto our roll the dice on this tight end list. You also saw Ryan Tannehill scrambling more when this game was closer. So just keep that in mind as a fantasy play. Tennessee's still obviously going to win this division. Derrick Henry is not going to be the reason why you win your fantasy league this year. We got to say hats off to the Eagles defense, good against the run and the pass now, but you can just see that Henry, again, he's taking more punishment than he's dishing out. And this is a team that's going to host a playoff game. This is a team that's going to win their division. But in this game, they got to see how they measure up against teams with true Super Bowl aspirations. And yeah, it didn't go well. I think the team that had A.J. Brown won that trade.
The hats off go to Howie Roseman, speaking of A.J. Brown trade, because you mentioned how they're better against the run. They weren't always like that this year. But I think self-scouting is the most important scouting, Bloom, in life and in football.
Well, and being willing to do something. Being willing to say, well, let's do something. It may not work, but let's not do nothing. That's not going to fix it.
Right. And then bring in guys. It's like, okay, you're not what you used to be, and you can only kind of do this one thing, but we need that one thing. So can you please do that one thing?
Yeah.
Way to go, Howie, man. Love Howie. Love him. Love Jalen Hurts, man. Out there slinging it, making plays. Again, Gardner Minshew came in, rich man, poor man. It's either very good or very bad. But Jalen Hurts, 29 of 39, 380, 3 touchdowns, no INTs. Hurts, 5 for 12 and a rushing touchdown as well. So monster fantasy day. Miles Sanders, 10 for 24 and a rushing touchdown. Boston Scott, Kenneth Gainwell getting used sparingly as runners and receivers. But A.J. Brown, 8 for 119, 2 touchdowns. Devontae Smith, 5 for 102, 1 touchdown for the Slim Reaper there. It's simply fantastic watching this team do their thing.
Yeah, see, there was a juncture in this game where A.J. Brown seemingly caught a 41-yard touchdown pass, and then they reviewed it, and, you know, his pinky toe was out. Next play, A.J. Brown, 41-yard touchdown pass. And he roasted the corner that was on him. I think it was Christian Fulton, just roasted him. So that's the kind of game it was. But like you said, Slim Reaper getting the first touchdown in this one. Really, the story though is Jalen Hurts. And see, so it might be a long time before we see a quarterback develop in front of our eyes the way that we've seen Jalen Hurts develop against a lot of forces that he was running counter to. Right? How many different times since that game. By the way, did you see Sean Payton said there's tanking in the league, and I know of it. I know there was tanking. That just was just right. Just and like not even high headline worthy. Yes, there's tanking in the NFL. I know because two games, one of which being that Jalen Hurts game. We all remember that game. And we really wondered where Jalen Hurts' future was with the team, where this team's future was. Remember, Doug Peterson was let go right after that, and it was all in disarray. And even last year, you did not see Jalen Hurts as this kind of passer. Last year. Not even remotely. And it's not just A.J. Brown. It's not just they add A.J. Brown and it becomes easy. I think it's Jalen Hurts. I think it's the young man that Jalen Hurts is and how he's dedicated himself to his craft and all the different things he's had to overcome to get to this point in his career. And it is something to behold. And man, is it something to behold in fantasy. Quez Watkins goes out with a shoulder injury here. So you're going to see even more concentration on Smith and Brown. And even Miles Sanders against a very tough run defense at least gets a rushing touchdown if you decided to play him. But Philadelphia has to be feeling great. They've been through some trials and tribulations already this year, and they seem to be growing, not slowing, next week against the Giants. Good luck, Daniel Jones.
Good luck with that. Bloom, as we wrap up today's show, we're doing the early games, as we always do when the Broncos play early.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on the afternoon games? Do you have any hot takes? Looks like we have some injuries. Juju banged up. Looks like Jerick McKinnon's playing some good football. Like, what's going on here so we can get back to our football games?
Yeah, well, we have some good back and forth games. Miami gets a 75-yard touchdown to Trent Sherfield. And after that, their offense is slowing down. Jimmy Garoppolo goes out. Brock Purdy is in. Kenneth Walker's banged up. So we'll see what happens there. But Geno Smith is doing well as he is trying to lead his team to the playoffs in a surprise. Cincinnati's playing very well at home, but it's Patrick Mahomes. So you never want to count that out. Again, Isaiah Pacheco will check back in after the game, which when we thought we could trust him. Not so sure. So it's the NFL. It's always in motion. And again, these themes like A.J. Dillon, DeAndre Swift, it's not over yet. The windows cease. The windows are still opening and closing. So make sure your fingers don't get slapped, but you might be able to sneak in through the back and have a part of the party.
Yeah, just make sure you're invited.
Yeah,
Chad Kelly. All right, that is a wrap for the show. We appreciate everyone for watching. Make sure to do all those YouTube things. I know it's annoying, but please like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you never miss a vid. And live chat, make sure to make a comment too, please, because the live count doesn't count in the algorithm. I don't know. It's YouTube. I just hope we don't get deplatformed. Thank you, YouTube. We appreciate you for allowing us to talk. So let's go. Let's do this. Be safe. Be kind. Know that you are appreciated. Stay tuned. And as always, stay frosty.